This is the High School Football America podcast for October the 2nd, 2019. I'm Jeff Fisher. All right, we're heading to Chicago, the Windy City, and what may be known as the Chicago Public League Super Bowl, as one of the teams in the top 100, Phillips Academy, won a couple of state championships over the last 4 years, ranked number 93 in the High School Football America 100 this week, takes on Simeon, and they are ranked number 9 in the state of Illinois. Phillips Academy, ranked number 2, and our good friend, the head coach at Phillips, Troy McAllister, is on the line. He has been on the show several times talking about some of the wonderful things that him and his staff and all the teachers and administrators have done there to make the Wildcats a High School Football America 100 power. And I say that with a little tongue-in-cheek because I know Coach doesn't want to hear that we're making him a national power at this point. He's more worried about what he's got to do this week. But welcome to the show, Coach.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate you having me on.
Always good to have you here, and because it has been a little bit, I'm going to spend a couple of minutes just here at the top before talking about the game, just kind of talking about the evolution of your program for the listeners who haven't heard you in the past. You have done some marvelous things there on the south side of Chicago. It's a poorer area, but what you've been able to do with these kids, and I think if I remember the first chat, you said you may have had one football in the program, you may not have had a football in the program, but tell the listeners a little bit about the evolution here over the little shy of a decade that you've been heading the Wildcats and where you've gotten them from one football to winning a couple of state championships.
Yeah, we started in 2010, 12 players at our first practice, and slowly built it up. And in 2015, we won the 4A state championship in Illinois. We were the first and only Chicago Public League high school football team to ever win a state championship. In 2017, we petitioned up to 5A and won the state championship in 5A. And then this year we petitioned up all the way to 7A. And hopefully get a chance to make a run deep in the playoffs this year. But obviously we're focused on our game against a very tough Simeon team this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. And folks, for those of you who don't know, the highest classification in Illinois is 8A, so they are going way up the ladder. And just to put that in perspective, East St. Louis is one of those teams in the 7A, right? And they're a little bit higher than you, so you got a good road once you get to the postseason. But let's talk about the season to this point. You guys are undefeated. You did start with an impressive road win in Detroit against a very, very good Cass Tech team, a team that regularly finds itself in the High School Football America 100. So give a little snapshot of what you thought coming in and where you are halfway through the regular season.
Yeah, we had a little bit of an unknown coming into the season. We did have a lot of returning players, but we lost some talented young men from our program last year. We were going to lean heavily on our lines early in the season. And if you look at our first game against Cass, that was part of the equation. And, we were able to run the ball very effectively, get up in the game, and kind of alter what they wanted to do. And then as the season's progressed, it's kind of just been getting the younger players up to speed, relying on the veterans, and kind of we're hitting all cylinders, so to speak, at the right time of the season.
Going into Simeon, we're talking Phillips Academy football out of Chicago, program that's won a couple of state championships, has found its way into the High School Football America 100 over the last several years. Troy McAllister and a wonderful staff there. And I don't know how much time we've spent talking about your staff in the past, but I had the pleasure back in May to be at a couple of your workouts there in your fine weight room, which, folks, is in the basement of a very old brick building, and kind of watch how your staff integrates with these kids. Let's talk about them a little bit before we get into the Simeon game, and tell me a little bit about how you built the staff and what these guys do to help you. You're the guy doing the interviews, but those guys are doing some grunt work for you too.
Yeah, we're lucky to have 6 coaches in the building, which makes a huge difference. So our freshman coach, our sophomore coach are in the building, plus our defensive coordinator and our strength and conditioning coach. Our D coordinator, Mike Larson, is awesome. We've been one of the best defenses in the state for the past 5 or 6 years. We're aggressive. We get after it. And we feel we can match up and defend just about anybody. And then our strength and conditioning coach, Mike Mancini, has been with us since day one. And he makes a huge difference in our off season, in particular when we have morning workouts, and we're getting the guys there in the morning, and he really has a high energy and gets everyone motivated to grow and develop as people.
And, one of the other things that I've done in the past in some interviews, because it always gets overlooked, but administrators play a huge role in what you're able to do. And I had the pleasure to get to know your principal there, Matt Sullivan. But talk a little bit about, from a head coaching standpoint, the man at the top of the program, how important it is to have the administration buy into what you're doing. Because it's not just you and your coaches and the players. It's got to be at all levels. Can you talk a little bit about Matt and how he's helped the program?
I think any head coach would tell you that having a supportive administrator is key to the success of the program. And having Mr. Sullivan, who's our biggest fan, and is at all our games, is actively involved in the program. It helps all around, because one, it keeps us accountable, but also keeps the young men in the program accountable as well, because they know the principal is there watching and seeing things. And then he has a higher expectation for them in the building with their behavior and them being role models within the school.
Talking to Troy McAllister, head coach at Phillips Academy in Chicago, number 93 in the High School Football America 100. Big game against Simeon coming up. Big battle in the city, but it's because these two teams are the best in that public system there, it becomes a little bit more. Coach, one of the things that comes into play with this, and I know Matt and I talked about it, and you and I have talked about it, is it's great to hear about national rankings. It's important to win state championships. Those things are great from a football standpoint, but you guys have done something there when it comes to the education side of it. Not only, the day-to-day, but getting kids out of, what's not necessarily a great neighborhood and all that. Tell the listeners around the country a little bit about some of the successes you've had when it comes to the student side of student-athlete.
Oh, for sure. I think just overall in our building, I think the last 5 or 6 years, we've had 100% college acceptance rate for our seniors, which is a testament to our whole staff in our building. And then obviously within the football program, we're graduating 100% of our players, and the majority are going on to college. They're making the choice to go on to college. And we've got several pretty good ball players around the country at Division I schools. And it's, our first set of guys that are Division I are set to graduate this year. It's an exciting time for them to graduate and then come back and hopefully give a little bit back to our community and our program.
And I've been able to witness personally some of the young men that have gone on to college and get back there in that brand spanking old weight room that you have there. Let's start talking Simeon. As I mentioned, at the top, I don't think it's an understatement to say at this point in the season, at least in the regular season, this is the Super Bowl maybe of the Chicago Public League. What are some of the things you guys are talking about as a staff, the staff to the kids? How are you approaching this big game?
They're big, they're fast, they're tough, they're athletic, and they really are an aggressive team. And we just have to find a way to not get outmatched, kind of find our strengths and utilize them, and not allow them to get it, especially on offense, get in the open field. They have a couple of very dynamic athletes. And then obviously with the few defensive stars that they have, kind of find a way to contain them and not let them run all over the field making plays.
Really, until you got the program cranked up and going, they kind of were the big man on campus, right, in Chicago. So has this become a rivalry in a sense, just because you two guys are at the top of the food chain when it comes to the football side of things, at least?
For sure, they were the big bet program in the city, and then when we started playing each other 4 years ago, we knocked them off and over the past 4 years, we've had a 3-1 record against them. However, last year we lost, and that was a big defeat for our program. We really want to find a way to step back up this year and hopefully gain the winning advantage over them.
Talking with Troy McAllister, head coach at Phillips here on High School Football America. And, Coach, I never let you go without getting the kids in here by name. That's what we love hearing about. You talked about that line play, and you needed that. So let's start on the offensive side of the ball. Let's get some of the kids in by name, some of the kids that are doing not only good things for you on the field, but in the leadership category as well.
Yeah, it starts with Derek Morris. He's our left tackle, senior captain. He's going to Temple next year. He's been outstanding for us. And he's really got hurt early in the Cass game and missed 1 week after that. But since he's returned, it's really sparked us offensively. And then also our center, Brian Bruce, we moved him from the defensive side to the offensive side this year. He's going to be going to Western Illinois next year. Those two have really made a huge difference on the offensive side of the ball for us. And then we're lucky to have two senior running backs, Anthony Anderson and Tyler Clark, who are both, I think, special players. Anthony's been banged up, and Tyler has taken on the workload, and he had over 200 yards and 5 touchdowns last week. So he was ready for that.
Let's go to the skill position players. You've had some good ones through the years. Who are some of the kids that the listeners should know about?
Oh, so yeah. Are you talking about them from previous years?
No. Well, you can do both, Coach. This is your forum here, but let's go previous, and then you can talk about this year. Why don't we do that? Let's give them a little taste of everything you've done.
We got a tight end that's a freshman at Alabama right now, and Jaleel Billingsley. He's been getting a little bit of playing time. He's got a chance to be a really special player down there. He's got a unique skill set in terms of his athleticism and his size. And then we have another receiver, Fabian McCrae, who's at NIU, also getting a little bit of time as a freshman. They've got chances, both of them, to be special players down the road. And then, obviously, when we're looking at our team this year, we have a defensive back who also plays receiver, and Ronald Pledger, who's going to go to Western Michigan. He's been special for us. Literally on defense, teams won't throw to his side of the field. And last week, it was really that case. They just refused to look to his side, so they were so worried about him, and then end up getting a receiving touchdown. He's had a kick return touchdown as well, and a punt return. He's kind of done everything for us this year.
And let's flip it over. I know it's a cliche to say defense wins championships, but if you look at the statistics, that really is the case. What do you have over there on the defensive side of the ball?
Yeah, I think you look at one of our junior linebackers, Davion Pierce. He's a captain as a junior. He kind of sets the tone. He's been doing a great job. And then you have a couple of seniors along the defensive line, and Darian Clay and Amari Hampton, who have really stepped up and taken on a role within the D-line, a leadership role there, and really are setting the tone for us. We're aggressive, and they really get after the ball.
And then let's talk about the boxes you have to check. What are the things you're telling the kids that you guys have to do when it comes to the game against Simeon this weekend?
It's cliche, but it really is just doing their own job. At the end, we feel our team is capable, and it will get us the victory if it's carried out properly. But everyone has to stay within their abilities and do their job. And if that occurs, we really feel positive about this weekend. However, if things start to fall apart, or guys try to do too much, or don't take care of their assignments, they're a really good football team, and they have too much talent to allow that to happen.
Yeah, and one of the things that I should have mentioned is bad weather last week. You guys were postponed until playing on Sunday. How does the short week affect you going into this one?
Yeah, it's funny. You don't realize it. It was kind of like, we'll be a regular week. Play Sunday, Monday we'll do film in the weight room. But yesterday's practice was a little sluggish. You realize with not having a day or two on the weekend, just completely off to rest, it showed. So we've kind of revamped our weekly schedule now for the rest of the week to tailor to make sure we get enough rest so that we're as fresh as we can be on Saturday night.
Talking to Troy McAllister, Phillips Academy in Chicago, number 93 in the High School Football America 100. Before I let you go, I know we've talked about this offline, but I'd love to get your thoughts for some of the people around the nation that don't know what's going on in Illinois. Some big changes coming here in, I guess it's 2021, right? There was a Proposal 23 that was voted in that basically tears apart all the leagues and conferences in the state. It's going to be a new look. It's going to affect you. Of course, you guys always like to play up anyway, but tell the listeners a little bit about the change made by the IHSA.
Yeah, it's part of the reason we bumped to 7A this year, or petitioned. They voided our one. We were in 6A, and they voided it because of the districts coming in and said, hey, everybody's got to redo their arrangements, and we felt it was the time to go to 7A. But essentially, they're getting rid of all conferences and going to districts, combining private and public schools into districts based on school size and geographic location. So there's a lot of things to be worked out, and there's a lot of questions from all schools. but they feel that this gets rid of any schools that have scheduling issues and allows a set district schedule to be put in place yearly so everyone knows who they're playing, what weeks, and there's no conference changes. That's been a big problem in the state, teams changing conference and leaving other conferences dry or one team short of being a full conference.
Mm-hmm. And then I think, like you said, a lot's got to be worked out, but I guess the plan is 8 to 9 schools. So my question off of that is, because you've been having trouble getting games, and I've talked to you about trying to find games around the country. Will this still allow you the ability to have some of those, non-league games that you like to play that get you ready for the run there for another state title?
Yeah, I believe we'll still have 2 non-district games, which will be week 1 and 2 of our season, which is great because typically most teams are always looking for a game then. And it should allow us, one, in-state, there should be more openings, but then also out-of-state when most teams are looking for a tough game or a big opponent. Hopefully we can find somebody that way.
Well, Coach, appreciate you joining us, appreciate the friendship with you, and good luck this weekend.
Thanks, Jeff. Really appreciate you having us on.
And that's today's High School Football America podcast. Tune in and subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio. There's a lot of ways to listen to the High School Football America podcast. I'm Jeff Fisher.